Hello everyone, I'm Rick and thanks for joining me. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for helping the channel reach 1,500 subscribers. It definitely gives me motivation to continue sharing my opinions and experiences on these videos. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Today we're looking at the Douk Q2 Pro. And I'd like to thank Douk Audio for loaning me a review sample and for all their support throughout the year. So Douk Audio calls this one Mini Stereo Gaming DAC Mic, Headphone Amp, and DA Converter, or something like that. So what is it? We'll revisit that in a moment. First, let's take a closer look at the unit. The Q2 Pro is a small, well-built aluminum box. It has a few knobs and a few ports as well. On the front, from the bottom left, we have a 3.5mm mic input, and above that, a clipping indicator LED. Next, we have a 3.5mm headphone output with a LED above that to indicate power. Onto the knobs. The first is the mic input gain, labeled mic volume. You'll want to plug your microphone in and then increase or decrease that until you find the best setting for your particular mic. The next knob is labeled pure bass, and this is the bass boost when enabled. And it does have a nice amount of resistance before it clicks on, so I don't think you'll be accidentally turning it. And the last knob is the power on and headphone volume, with the same resistance as the pure bass knob. The last two knobs are super smooth, while the first one does have indents and you can feel little clicks along the way. On the top of the Q2 Pro, you have 3 USB-A inputs, and they all have these little silicone dust covers, which I love to see. The bottom has a set of 4 silicone feet, and they do keep the unit from sliding around on your desk. On the back, again from the left, we have our analog outputs, one on RCA, next an input selector toggle. In the up position, you have your optical input, and on the down position, your USB input. Next to that, a digital output in the form of Toslink optical, and this output is only active when you're inputting from USB, so you can't daisy chain an optical in and have it go optical out. Next are 2 digital inputs, one on Toslink optical and the other on USB-C. And above that port, you'll see another USB-C, and that is for power only. And while you can power on the Q2 Pro with just the data USB-C, you'll still want to connect another USB here to a 5-volt power brick because the Q2 Pro does like 5 volts with at least 2 amps. As for specs, the Q2 Pro sports an ESS ES9039 Q2M DAC chip for its analog output, an SA9123L converts the USB to SPDIF for the digital output, THD plus N at 0.0009%, signal to noise at 117 decibels, the single-ended headphone output reaches 450 milliwatts at 32 ohms, and the bass boost gives you an extra 12 decibels. The Q2 Pro comes in at $100. So again, what is it? Well, it's primarily a DAC, and a pretty good one for its price point. At my desk, going RCA out to a pair of topping B100 monoblock amps over to my Audio Engine P4 speakers, the sound was crisp and clean, detailed, powerful and dynamic. Really nothing to complain about for $100. Now I didn't test the Q2 Pro's DAC in my den because I was focusing more on its other features. The Q2 Pro is also a pretty capable headphone amplifier, and at 450 milliwatts, drove a pair of Sennheiser HD6XX to loud enough. Again, the same characteristics of the DAC via the RCAs came through on the headphone side. The Q2 Pro is marketed as a gaming DAC. You get your headset, you plug in both the microphone and the headphone plugs, turn the unit on, and you're good to go. But I'm not a gamer. I did used to play a little, back in the days of PlayStation 2 and 3, but not really since then. So I did try to reach out to one of my nephews and ask him if he wouldn't mind giving the Q2 Pro a run over on his gaming setup. He usually games with a set of Sony MX4s plugged directly into his computer. Unfortunately, with the holidays here and his holiday hours at work, he couldn't help me out in this case, but I'm sure he would have been very impressed. As for the aesthetics, I personally like that it's understated. It doesn't have RGB LEDs or any strange geometry, and I think it would sit inconspicuously on anybody's desktop. But in what other scenarios could we use the Q2 Pro besides gaming? The Q2 Pro isn't quite an audio interface. While it does have that microphone in, so it does have an analog to digital converter, it doesn't have a monitor knob, so you can't hear yourself back in the headset. Now you also don't get as much gain as you would on say an SSL2 Plus. This unit gives you much more gain as well as phantom power, to power condenser mics as well as dynamic mics. The SSL also gives you XLR inputs as well as TRS inputs, but it's over double the price. It's also quite a bit larger, and realistically it's with a different user in mind. I pretty much leave this one connected to my desktop when I'm going to do voiceovers, and for today's videos I use my field recorder, a Sound Devices MixPre 6. Now the Mix Pre is much more expensive, but it also has a battery pack and is more of a field recorder. Now while the Q2 Plus isn't an audio interface, it does have another case scenario that I think would be awesome. And that would be for remote work, for that work from home crowd. The Q2 Pro does an excellent job of improving the audio quality that's heard on the other side of a Zoom meeting, which in turn improves the viewer's experience. I don't think I've spoken much about my background, but I used to be in the medical field, in practice management and clinical research for over 25 years, but I'm semi-retired now. My partner, on the other hand, is in advertising and she works from home. She's on her computer on Zoom meetings with clients all over the globe for over 6 hours every day. And one thing that makes a video conference more enjoyable is good audio. Now you don't recognize it when it's good, but it sure is annoying when it's bad. So here's where I think a work from home professional should consider a product like the Q2 Pro, which is much less intimidating than an audio interface and quite a bit smaller. I actually had a Zoom meeting scheduled with a company in the UK that sent me a product over for review. They wanted to give me a walkthrough of the product before I got to my review. I'll have that video up after the holidays. So before that meeting, I asked my daughter if she wouldn't mind setting up a Zoom meeting with me so we can go ahead and test the Q2 Pro. I wanted to see how it would stack up against the built-in microphone on my MacBook Air. So we got on the video call, and first we tested out the audio directly from the MacBook Air. Next, we turned on the Q2 Pro and went into the Mac's sound settings. There we found the Zoom profiles and we turned the noise reduction to low. And my daughter told me she was picking up a lot of background noise. So we went ahead into sound again, but this time we chose medium on background noise reduction. And then my daughter said it sounded great. But then I decided to bump it up to high to see what that would sound like. And then my daughter said it just sounded less natural. I think as you set the noise reduction higher, the MacBook gives you a stronger gate. That's when the software quickly mutes and unmutes whenever you speak. So when you're talking, you're sending out audio, and when you stop talking, it mutes everything to try to reduce the background noise. And it tries to do that quickly in between all your words. But sometimes that clips your vocals, and you get kind of that digital sound. So we backed the setting down to medium, and that seemed to be the sweet spot. As for the microphone, I was using a Sennheiser ME2. And that's a lavalier mic, and that's the one I normally always use here. You can see it under my shirt right here. On my first videos, I would use a boom mic coming up above me, but what happens there is when I would turn to look at a device and I would speak, I would lose signal. So with the lavalier mic, I can move in any directions and I won't lose that signal. Now that's sending the signal down to a wireless receiver in my pocket, and that's sending the signal over to the receiver, which is connected to my recorder. And I'll sync the audio with the video in post. And while that does add one extra step, the audio quality that I can get out of my recorder is much better than what I can get if I connect directly into my camera. But back to the mic. Now there is more affordable mics that you can get online. The key thing to remember is that every mic will have a little bit different gain, so you have to set the mic knob a little bit differently for anything you might get. I personally found the sweet spot of the volume on the mic input of the Q2 Pro at 2 o'clock. At 3 o'clock I definitely got more output, but when I backed it down to 2, it was slightly quieter but a lot cleaner as well. So with the ME2 microphone, 2 o'clock works great. As for playback on Zoom, I use a single in-ear monitor, and it's this guy right here, and it drops in your ear, and you plug this in to the mic side. You can just kind of hide the cord, and now you can hear what the other person is saying. You can also use a full headset, but in a meeting, that can look a little extra. Or like you're a podcaster, and IEM works wonderful. And the benefit of having the in-ear monitor is that you virtually eliminate the chance of feedback and echo. That occurs when your mic is picking up the stereo of the signal coming in from the other person and sending it back to them, and kind of makes a constant loop. And software corrects this, but at a cost. Again, that choppy, gated sound. You can also use wireless IEMs that connect directly to your computer via Bluetooth. However, now you gotta monitor that battery life. With a device like the Q2 Pro, you don't have to worry about that. And honestly, once you get the settings fine-tuned to the microphone you purchased and this guy, you really set it and forget it. So after doing all the fine-tuning on the Q2 Pro, I asked my daughter to compare the audio of this guy versus the audio coming directly from the MacBook Air. I asked my daughter which one had better audio quality, and she said the Q2 Pro. So I asked her, was it slightly better? And her reply was, it was much better. So then I asked her the all-important money question, was it $100 better? And her opinion was that it definitely was. So there you have it, my focus group of one says for working professionals, the Q2 Pro is the way to go. But in all seriousness, when you're presenting to a client, a little thing like having your client focus on your idea instead of focusing on your bad sound quality can make a big difference. Now the Q2 Pro isn't perfect. It can't handle condenser mics that need phantom power. And the bass boost, while it gives you a boomier experience, definitely flattens the dynamics as soon as you turn it on. I personally would never turn on the bass boost for music listening, however I might do so if I was gaming. And the USB ports on top are super convenient for moving over a file from a flash drive, but unfortunately they're only active when the DAC is on itself, instead of always on. So you have to turn the power on here. When you turn the DAC off, your USB-As are now inactive. I would have preferred that they were always on. But all in all, it's a solid product. For $100, it has a lot of uses. The DAC sounds awesome for the price. It's built well and it looks nice. And that's all I have for this one. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. This is recording directly into the MacBook Air. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. This is recording with the Douk Q2 Pro. This is a sound demo recording with the SSL 2 Plus. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.